Welcome to Racing News. In the show this week, we continue to bring you news on our up-and-coming young jockeys. Who can forget Sereno Moodley's 21-length win aboard Run Rhino Run at Greyville a year ago? Footage of the race went viral, attracting the attention of both local and international press. We catch up with Sereno again as he's made a great start to the new season. We also celebrate with young Jabu Jacobs, who recorded his first win of his career. But first, we kick off focusing on punting. Do you bet based on form analysis or do you go with your gut? Is one method more successful than another? Who knows? And could there be a code of good betting practice? Who better to ask than those in the know? We've been asked by you, the viewer, to look more specifically at betting and the habits and behaviours of successful punters. With me is racehorse owner and regular racegoer Phil Giorgio. Phil, could there be such a thing as a code of best practice when it comes to punting?
I think definitely yes. I think people need to embrace things like discipline. They need to be consistent in what they're betting. I think they need to also take cognizance of the efforts that are made by the racing media people to give transparency in what horses are fancied and not, and then concentrate on making your own decision.
It's surprising how many punters bet on gut, follow favourites and tipsters, or simply make decisions based on summaries provided by the press or online.
You look at your medium to low punters, they'll always look at jockeys, favourites, top of the board. You'll see people on the course that won't even have a form guide with them. It's more a hobby, a passion.
To decide on bets this way is quick and easy, but it's not the route successful punters choose to go. They do their own analysis.
I study on form, I look at breeding, I look at past runs, and see if there's improvements, and merit rating is very important for me.
I must say that when I first started punting, the late Gabby Somer and Derek Flynn were quite influential in what I did, and I'm very much a form studier. I also like to go to the parading and watch them go to the start. So I look at the tipsters, what they say. I listen to what the trainers say as an advice, but I then make up my own mind.
Is there a difference in betting patterns or styles between professional punters and those who are more social or amateur punters?
Absolutely, Michelle. The professional punters are definitely more selective, they're more disciplined. They're usually betting in higher increments, and the social punters in there because they get a rush from taking a bet. They're not, yes, they want to make a profit, and they expect every bet that they take to be a winner, but they're there for the fun of it, and you know, they're using their disposable income to have fun and get the rush from the feeling that race gives them, whether it's a winning bet or trying again if it's a losing bet.
There's a lot of racing available to punters these days, more than ever before. To successfully bet on all of it, it's not possible. So is it not better to specialise and focus? Phil, do you bet every race or at every race meeting, or do you focus your efforts?
I think it's very important to identify when the better quality horses are running. I travel a lot to the big race meetings, and if I'm in a jurisdiction, I tend to play in that jurisdiction only. However, I'm generally play most meetings in Durban, and I try and be consistent because sometimes you see horses develop habits that are inconsistent, and when they get out of those habits, you then find that you can find a horse to back at a nice price.
Successful punters find what they're good at. It also means they don't overload themselves with information. This allows them to learn everything they can about the bet types they place.
Try to put a little bit of work into it. If you put a bit of work, then you can find the winners.
Professional punters don't believe in a fun bet. They don't bet to have an interest in a race or a football match just because their friend's favourite horse is running or team are playing. A lot has been said about don't be an adrenaline junkie when it comes to betting. One can get caught up in the emotions of betting. Is it better to be somewhat detached?
I don't think so, because I think if you were a regular punter, you get the same thrill out of having 10 Rand on a racehorse or 100,000 Rand on a racehorse. So everybody looks for that little bit of adrenaline, and I think people need to get it out of the smaller bet as much as the bigger bet, but then just be able to be consistent.
Research has shown that it's one of the biggest problems for amateur punters is trying to win every race or over-betting in the hope it gives them a high return. Invariably, this leads to an emptier bank balance and a feeling of deflation. A common habit among many professional punters is to keep a record of all bets placed. Patterns reveal themselves over time, and those bets they are particularly successful at become apparent. Many say that this single habit is what turned their betting around, and in so doing, maximize their returns. Phil, do you keep a record of your bets over time to see what bets are more successful than others?
No, I think I rely on my memory a lot, and certainly my pocket tells me if I'm winning or losing. But I tend to follow horses that I liked in the parading or going down to the start that were at a sort of a nice price that didn't sort of run up to expectations. If I believe I'm good enough as a judge, as a form studier and as a judge in the ring, then I should follow up.
Many punters look for a quick fix, which professionals say is a short-term mindset. Successful punters say best results are achieved by looking longer term and the ability to examine past betting results. But what is longer term? Well, when you go for a job interview, unless you are a contractor, you don't ask how much the weekly or monthly salary is. You're interested in the annual salary. Successful punters view their betting activity at least over a 12-month period. Is punting a get-rich-quick scheme?
Definitely not.
Why?
Because if you're looking to use money to punt to get money to buy groceries or to get out of it, that's the wrong attitude. You should be punting with money that's spare. Punting and coming to the races should be entertainment. You should allocate a certain amount of your monthly money towards entertainment, and racing should be in the same bracket.
You might well bet the winner, but if it's a short-priced favourite and the odds are poor, your return is going to be equally so. Successful punters look deeper. They look for value.
For me, as an ex-bookmaker, I'll look at trying to find the value in the race. So I'll price up my own, I'll study the form in the race, and I'll try to do my own pricing and see and try monitor each race as it comes and try to get value out of a horse.
As a punter, do you bet to win for a horse to win a race, or do you look for value?
I hate that word value because so many of the presenters turn around and say, no, we're looking for value, and they're tipping horses which have got absolutely no chance because it's value. Value is a horse that wins. It doesn't make a difference on the price. I back a horse that I think will win, and I don't believe the price should affect it.
Successful punters don't blame the jockey, trainer or tipster when they lose a bet. Losses are part of being a profitable long-term punter, and they rather seem to shake it off and move on. Phil, is losing part of the game?
I think it is. I think you see people's characters. When they win well and they celebrate. But when you lose, you need to take it and you need to bounce back. And unfortunately, some people are good winners and terrible losers. And I hate couch potatoes that sit on the back couch, having a go at reasons why horses didn't win. And I think that's very unfair.
Phil, what would your take-home message be to people who are punters in the game or would-be punters?
I think it's very important to come into the racing, punting with the right attitude. As I said earlier, come for the entertainment side of it. And if you get the thrill out of the entertainment side of it, the winning must just be a bonus.
Track and ball fixed odds. Track and ball.
Track and ball.
Track and ball. Track and ball fixed odds. Good day, Virasha speaking.
Steve Marshall is General Manager of Track and Ball. Steve, what general betting patterns do you pick up from patrons?
Michelle, we come out with betting for local race meetings about lunchtime on the day before the race, but very little betting activity actually happens up until probably about half an hour before the race. So generally speaking, we get about a third of our bets placed in that preceding period, and 2/3 of bets get placed literally half an hour before a race, and that escalates as the load time gets closer.
Do those bets take place right up until the time horses load for a race?
Absolutely. That's when the betting activity is at its greatest, which is unfortunate because a lot of patrons then don't get their bets on because they leave it too late.
And do you pick up any patterns in terms of the size of bets laid?
Definitely. It just all depends on obviously the client. Obviously some clients have a lot more disposable income to spend. Others prefer to stretch their bets across a number of different races, so they would then bet in smaller increments.
We spoke to Bradley Vinnick of Morris V Sports Bets in Chatsworth. Bradley, what bet is most common in your experience?
A win bet and a win double bet is always popular. We find that punters that are looking to secure profit for the day often go for a place bet, and they'll look for not the favourite. They'll look for a horse that's priced at anything from 5 to 1 up, and they'll look for the value. If they can get the place bet at 3 to 1 or 7 to 2, 4 to 1, that becomes popular. And then the multiple bet, one needs to be very wary because it's harder to find two horses, more than one to win. And possibly the way to go is to look for the value, look for a horse that's priced from 5 to 1, 7 to 1 up, and look to back that to win the race.
From an operator's perspective, do you pick up any trends or patterns in betting behaviour?
Well, for a punter to consistently win, we find is pretty difficult. Punters win and they lose. Some punters win consistently, but falling into the bracket of being a consistent winner is not very easy. Suggestions that I could possibly give is that a punter should learn how to study form well. It will always be of great value to a person. Learn what points to look out for, things like merit ratings, dropping in merit ratings, the draws and apprentices that are claiming. And the more a person can learn about form studying, the more it's definitely going to help them from making just any spontaneous decision at the spur of the moment, which may just cost them money, or the fact that maybe that the punters then is down and they go into a panic situation and they decide they just need to find something, whatever they can back, then that puts them into a hole, and then that hole often gets deeper. Another thing I could suggest for South African horse racing, Interbet, logging onto Interbet, having a look at the supply and demand. One's able to see there what money is coming for a horse, what price is available, and the supply and demand, and learning what the supply and demand is, can definitely give a person an edge at the time of the race. Otherwise, I think people should manage their money properly and try and consistently win on a day-to-day gambling basis.
What percentage of your business is from professional punters compared to amateur or social punters?
Nowadays, bookmakers have, if they haven't mastered the art of deciding who they want to bet to, they're definitely trying. So there's a lot more analysis that goes on in the background. Obviously, we're in a business as well. We're there to make a profit at the end of the day, and it's not conducive to us laying everything to the professional punters. So there are times when we will limit a professional punter so that we can carry on betting to Joe Public.
Of your business currently, what percentage takes place over the counter, online and via telephone betting?
Our business is roughly 40% over the counter, 50% phone, and we getting close to 10% on the online. That's growing pretty rapidly, especially the horse racing. Punters have found that our prices are highly competitive, and they're very happy to deal with us on the basis that we are trying to accommodate in their bets.
We've got 8 branches, so 75% of our betting is over the counter, obviously on the race course as well. 10% is online and 15% is through our call centre.
Are any one of those growing more so than the other?
Internet online obviously is the platform which we see the most growth potential in. It's not as big as we would like it to be. It's something that we've focused on growing, especially over the next few years.
What advice do you have for punters out there?
Michelle, I think it's considering all the information available to them. Some punters obviously have access to newspapers and form books and things like that, but there's a lot of other information which is available on race day. Jockeys give interviews, trainers give interviews. If owners are on the race course, sometimes their horse has a better chance. So there's a number of different information streams which punters can use in order to take their bet. There's also obviously a number of bookmakers on course. Obviously we'd prefer that they use track and ball, but there are a number of options available. There's a tote, there's fixed odds. So it's looking at all of those different variables and deciding which price is better, and obviously using the information to choose the correct horse.
My best advice for a punter would be try your best to achieve value. Avoid staking too much money, because if one stakes too much, too high, it then can set a person back on the loss side. So if a person's able to find odds that are not low, and they can stake not a huge sum of money, and if their selection arrives, they can win money for not too great an investment, and to try and achieve consistency on those lines.
Some interesting comments made, and we hope we've given you some food for thought. If you'd like to keep the dialogue going, you can contact us on Facebook at Racing News TV Show, or email us on michelle.m.wing@gmail.com. But now, it's always exciting to watch the growth and development of our young jockeys when they come into racing. This week, we speak to Serino Mudley and Jabu Jacobs. Serino Mudley made headlines in November 2017 when he rode Run Rhino Run to a 21-length victory at Greyville. Serino, do people still talk of that win?
Yes, definitely. Wherever I go and people see me, they say, "Oh, we watched the race with Run Rhino Run." So it's become pretty popular around now.
And the clip went viral on YouTube.
Yes, I know. I think it's the most viewed on the Gold Circle on YouTube. So, it did go viral. It was honestly a shock to me, but it just shows horse racing is funny at times.
Lonely, look at this. Run Rhino Run. He's still 200 meters clear. Can you believe this? Run Rhino Run. 150 meters clear of the rest of the field, and Run Rhino Run. I've never in my life seen this before. Run Rhino Run by 50 meters. Main players second, Impact Zone, Scotch Briar. I'm absolutely shell-shocked.
Serino grew up in Lenasia, south of Johannesburg. As a 9-year-old, he enjoyed show jumping before entering the South African Jockey Academy in 2012. But he left a year later after he found the pressures of apprenticeship and academia overwhelming. Serino returned to Johannesburg to homeschool for 18 months. He then entered the Jockey Academy in Harare before returning to the South African Jockey Academy in 2015 to complete what he started 3 years before. Serino is not the only apprentice to have taken a sabbatical during his time. It's not just him, but others like Serino who remind us not to overlook how rigorous apprentice training is. But it needs to be, as race riding is an extreme sport. Risks are high, and coupled with the expectations from owners and trainers, there's pressure brought to bear on these young riders. They start out as young boys, but very quickly become men.
And it's Master Thief going on to win it. Master Thief the winner.
Serino, you've had a great start to the new season, riding 14 winners already. What do you attribute that success to?
I think it all boils down to hard work and determination. I think if you put in the hours, you obviously reap the rewards, and I've done that. I really work hard back at home and get to know the horses pretty well and get to know my trainers. I'm fortunate enough to ride for trainers that have ridden in races before, like Mr. Puller and Mr. Hill. So they also give me advice, which helps me a lot in my race riding. So I'm just grateful. It's I think it's just the hard work that pays off.
What attributes do you think trainers look for in apprentices when they choose apprentices to race ride for them?
I think it's confidence in a race, and knowing where you are in the positions. Myself, I draw speed maps going into a race. It just makes it so much easier. So you know where you're going to plan out and which horses are going to push forward and which horses are going to take a sit. So it's pretty much doing your homework back at home and obviously knowing your horses. And I think racing is more about quick thinking, and if you can think fast in a race, trainers can pick that up and you make the right decisions at times. And I think that's what most owners and trainers look for.
So keeping a cool head is very important?
Yes, definitely. It's as much as there's pressure, but sometimes you just have to ride the race. It's race riding. Things do happen. It's not always going to go to plan, but it's just like you just have to just handle the pressure in the right way and take it from there.
Yeah. Do you have any jockeys you aspire to?
Yes, when I was very young, just starting off at the academy, I admired Chris Teaton, and I always still tell to this day I really like his riding style, but as well as Anton, Anton's taught me a lot since we used to ride for Mr. Led. I did a lot of work for Mr. Led, and Anton's taught me a lot of things back at home and how to work horses and going forward into a race, So I was just blessed that I could ride work with Anton and a few other jocks like Keegan as well, So it was a great asset. You can pick up little things that you might not think makes a difference, but they actually do. So, it's just when someone like that gives you a bit of help, you take it and you make sure you do well with it.
Which trainers are you riding mostly for at the moment?
So I do a lot of freelancing at the moment. I try and get it on. Obviously it's hard sometimes in the mornings. Some trainers pull out at the same time, but at the moment I try and ride for everyone that I possibly can. And yes, you obviously can't sometimes, but I'm just freelancing at the moment.
And Serena, what can we look forward to from you in 2019?
Look, I finished at the end of this year, so that's one of my goals that I achieved. I finished with, I'm on 74 winners now, so I'm just grateful, to the academy, the riding masters, all the staff back at the academy. So, going forward, I just want to get better and better every season, ride more winners every season, and start to travel next year. That's the main thing, and get my name out there.
What do you love about this sport so much?
It's the horses. I love the horses. Waking up in the morning and getting to work. There's nothing better than riding a horse in the morning at 6 o'clock and the sunrise comes up. It's absolutely brilliant. And I think if it wasn't for the horses, I wouldn't do this.
Well, your enthusiasm is tangible, and we wish you all the best next year. We'll be watching you.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you to yourself and your team also. It's nice when you guys come out and give us a bit of exposure. We really, really appreciate it, and big thanks to you guys.
Speak to any jockey. They all recall their first win, no matter how long they've been race riding. Well, Sunday, the 28th of October, was the turn of Jabu Jacobs, who won aboard Winter's Coming for trainer Andre Nell.
Gone, baby, gone. Winter's Coming's riding on strongly. The poet Spume, Winter's Coming, and gone, baby, gone. Winter's Coming won it. And you'll see the youngster, I think it's his first win here. And eventually they find the opening and they win it. Number 2.
Jabu, congratulations on riding your first winner. How did it make you feel?
Thank you, ma'am. It was a great feeling to ride my first winner, and I was really happy to ride it on Winter's Coming.
Will you remember that feeling for a long time to come?
Yes, I remember it.
What was going through you as you crossed the line?
I was really happy when I crossed the line. It was a moment of my time that I will never forget.
How many seconds had you ridden prior to winning?
5 seconds.
So this was a good time coming then?
Yes, ma'am.
This young kid, Jabo Jacobs, what a win. This ride he's going to remember for his entire career.
Which trainers are you riding work for in the mornings, and which trainers are giving you race rides?
I mainly ride for Mr. Nell, Byron and Thomas, and also for Mr. Pula, Mr. Lefty. They've also helped me with some races. So to start me off with, and also try and run around and ride for many trainers as I can.
Do you have any jockeys who you aspire to?
Muzieni, yeah.
And why?
Because he's a champion jockey. I like his style. I like how he rides, and yes.
And here comes the line, Tilbury Fort or Coral Fever.
Do you have any of the senior jockeys who take an interest in you younger people?
Warren Kennedy.
And what does Warren do for you?
Now he helps me a lot. When I come back from like when I'm riding a horse, he tells me what to do and all that. Yes.
And 2019, Jabu, what are you hoping to accomplish?
To finish my claim for as quickly as possible and gain some experience.
Would you encourage other people to follow you and become an apprentice or a jockey one day?
Yes, sir. I will, yes.
Nikki, the South African Jockey Academy has had a good run of late with the apprentices. Tell us about it.
Yes, Michelle, we're having a very good run at the moment, as you said. And first of all, we'd just like to thank all the owners and trainers for giving our guys the support. You know, without them, you know, we wouldn't be anywhere. We've met our targets for the last 4, 5, 6 months. So we're having a good year, never mind just a good few months, you know.
Can you tell us what some of those targets are and what you have actually achieved?
Our monthly target sort of at the moment is about 215 rides for a month. That's our target. It obviously differs from province to province with the number of race meetings and things like that. So, but we are on about 215 and we're sort of averaging about 250, 260, somewhere around there. So we've managed to hit our targets the last few months. Nationally too, we if we add it up, we're probably around about 500 nationally, and we're averaging about 650 a month. So we way over our targets at the moment, and we hope that it continues.
Which apprentices are attracting attention at the moment?
The older guys are obviously doing well. Sereno, Eric, Luke's doing very well. Kanya. They're all doing well. And then the younger guys are starting to get rides too. You know, for the Claim 4, Jason's, you know, his suspension is now finished. So he's flying at the moment. He's probably the strongest Claim 4 in the country at the moment. Because of all his suspensions and stuff, he's a little bit behind, but his riding has improved a lot. Ashton will still be there. He's on top form, riding winners. Kanya's still here. And then the younger guys, Jabu, Kola, Tabiso, they're all coming through. We always strive for the best, and that's our motto.
Well, it's wonderful to see, and it's wonderful to see these young talents coming through, and we wish you well.
Thank you very much.
That brings this week's show to a close. You can follow us on Facebook at Racing News TV Show or on YouTube at www.goldcircle.co.za. We'll see you all again in a fortnight on Sunday, the 9th of December. Until then, we wish you both happy and profitable racing. Okay. Speak to any. Hey, giving him some hay. Oh. Hey, maybe. The Racing News Show and previous screenings are available online at www.goldcircle.co.za. Click on the YouTube icon, go to playlists, and click on Racing News to access all shows to date.